The hotel receipt fell out of Marie's purse like a guillotine blade. I wasn't snooping. That's what I told myself anyway, standing in our bedroom with her coach bag spilled across the duvet. I'd been looking for my car keys. She had a habit of tossing them in there. But what I found instead was a cream-colored piece of paper from the Meridian Hotel. Room 447. 2 nights. Charged to a credit card I didn't recognize. Ben, are you going through my things? Marie stood in the doorway, fresh from her shower, wrapped in a towel that probably cost more than my work boots. Her blonde hair was darker when wet, slicked back from a face that still turned heads at 36. My wife, the woman I'd loved since college. Looking for my keys, I said, holding up the receipt. Found this instead. She didn't even flinch. That's what got me. No surprise, no guilt, just irritation like I'd interrupted her schedule. It was a girls' weekend. Jessica booked it. Jessica's name isn't on here, neither is yours. God, Ben! She snatched the receipt from my hand. This is exactly why we have problems. You're so suspicious, so small-minded. Maybe if you spent less time playing detective and more time being someone I actually wanted to be around. Who's Victor? The name had been nagging at me for weeks. Text notifications at odd hours. A cologne I didn't wear lingering in her car. That name appearing again and again. Her jaw tightened. He's a friend. From college. The guy who dumped you junior year? That was 15 years ago. People change, Ben. They grow up. They build successful businesses and travel and actually make something of themselves. She gestured around our bedroom, at the house I'd helped design, that my engineering salary had paid for. Not everyone stays the same boring, bitter person they were at 20. I should have yelled, should have demanded answers, thrown her out, done something dramatic. But that's not how structural engineers operate. We calculate loads, test materials, find the weak points. So I just nodded. Your birthday's next month, I said. She blinked, thrown by the subject change. Yes. What do you want? Marie studied me for what felt like an eternity, her gaze sharp and unwavering. In that moment, I saw something shift behind her eyes, something cold, calculating, and distant. It was as if she had already made her decision, and in that silent exchange, I realized the truth. This marriage wasn't just struggling, it had long since slipped away, and I had been too blind to see the signs until now. I want you to disappear, Ben. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. Well, I said, feeling something dark and calm settle into my chest, cheaper than diamonds. She laughed, actually laughed like I'd told a joke instead of watched my marriage collapse. Then she walked past me to her closet, already done with the conversation. I left the receipt on the bed and went down to the garage. My garage was sacred space, the only place in the house where Marie's designer touch hadn't reached, where the air still smelled like motor oil and possibility. In the center, covered by a tarp, sat my project, a 1973 Norton Commando 850. I'd bought it 3 years ago, a rusted skeleton that most people would have hauled to the scrapyard, but I'd seen the bones beneath the decay, the engineering marvel hiding under decades of neglect. Every weekend, every spare evening, I'd worked on it. Rebuilt the engine piece by piece, stripped the frame to bare metal, sourced original parts from England, Australia, places Marie couldn't find on a map. She hated it. That bike is never going anywhere, she'd say, passing through with her gym bag or shopping bags or whatever the hell she filled her days with. You're throwing money into a hole. Stop wasting money on your stupid bike project. It will never get moving. Maybe you're right, I'd said last time. But I wasn't stopping. I was finishing. Tonight, pulling off the tarp, I ran my hand along the restored fuel tank, deep burgundy with gold pinstriping, exactly like the original, and smiled. The engine was done, the electrical system rewired, the chrome gleaming. Every gasket, every bolt, every piece of trim was either original or period correct. I'd documented everything with photos and receipts. It was almost finished. Just the final detailing work remained. I pulled out my phone and took photos from every angle. Then I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Barrett & Sons auction house in London. They specialized in vintage motorcycles, and I'd been following their sales for years. A Norton Commando 850 in pristine condition, fully documented restoration, original parts. It could bring serious money. I'd seen similar bikes fetch anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000, the kind of money that could finance a fresh start. I sent the email, then started making lists. What I'd need: a storage unit, a separate bank account, a lawyer who specialized in divorce. I worked until 3 a.m, the familiar comfort of planning and calculation pushing away the image of that hotel receipt. When I finally went upstairs, Marie was asleep, or pretending to be. Her phone glowed on the nightstand, and I could see the message preview. Victor, can't wait for next weekend. 2 days isn't enough. I took a photo of her screen with my phone and went to sleep in the guest room. I caught her texting him at 2 a.m. I'd gotten up for water, noticed the light under our bedroom door. When I pushed it open, Marie was propped against the headboard, her face lit by her phone screen, smiling at something I couldn't see. "Little late for gossip," I said. She nearly dropped the phone. "Jesus, Ben, you scared me." "Who are you texting?" "None of your business." She set the phone face down on her nightstand, but I'd already seen enough. The smile, the guilty flush in her cheeks, the way she'd angled her body away from me. "It's Victor, isn't it? Go back to bed." "How long?" I said, "Go back to bed." I stood there for a moment, watching her. The woman I'd married had been sharp and funny, ambitious but kind. This person, cold, dismissive, wrapped in silk pajamas that cost more than my monthly car payment, was someone else entirely. "I'm sleeping in the guest room from now on," I said. "Fine. Maybe I'll finally get some peace." I closed the door and stood in the hallway, hands shaking with something that felt like rage but burned colder. Downstairs, I opened my laptop and started researching. Divorce law in our state. Asset division. What counted as evidence of infidelity. Then I made a phone call to an old college buddy, Steve, who'd gone into private investigation after the military. "Ben?" His voice was rough with sleep. "It's 2 a.m. I need a favor. Can you track someone's movements? Discreetly?" There was a pause. "Your wife?" "Her and the guy she's sleeping with. Send me the details. I'll see what I can do." I forwarded everything I had. Victor's full name from the text messages, the hotel receipt photo, the credit card number. Steve was good at this kind of work. Within a week, I'd know everything. The next morning, I opened a new bank account at a different institution and started redirecting my paycheck. 60% to the joint account, 40% to my private one. Not enough for Marie to notice immediately, but enough to build a cushion. I also rented a storage unit and started moving things. My tools, the motorcycle parts I hadn't used yet, boxes of documents, things I'd need later. Marie barely noticed. She was too busy planning her next girls' trip with Jessica. Jennifer's party was supposed to be casual. Backyard barbecue, she'd said. But Jennifer's casual meant catered food, imported beer, and enough wine to stock a restaurant. Their house sat on 2 acres in the expensive part of town, all glass and steel and open concept, the kind of place that made our home look modest. Marie had spent 2 hours getting ready, changing outfits 3 times before settling on something that probably cost more than my motorcycle restoration budget. She'd barely spoken to me on the drive over. "Try not to embarrass me tonight," she said as we pulled into the driveway. "I'll do my best." The party was already full when we arrived. Lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, Marie's crowd, people who talked about their vacation homes and their kids' prep schools with the casual arrogance of those who'd never worried about money. I grabbed a beer and found a corner near the pool, watching. Marie moved through the crowd like she was performing. Air kisses, loud laughter, that animated way she talked when she wanted attention. She was holding court by the outdoor kitchen, surrounded by her usual group: Jennifer, Amanda, Sarah, the gossip brigade. Ben! Jennifer spotted me and waved me over. She'd already had too much wine, her smile too wide, her movements too loose. We were just talking about you. Nothing good, I hope. Marie was telling us about your little project in the garage, the motorcycle thing. It's almost done, I said. That's so cute, Amanda said, like I was a child showing off a crayon drawing. Tom used to restore old radios, remember, honey? Until he realized it was just taking up space. Tom, her husband, shrugged. Had to be practical about it. Practicality is important, I said, but so is knowing the value of what you've got. Marie shot me a look. Ben thinks everything in that garage is treasure. I keep telling him it's junk. Not junk, I said, just misunderstood. See what I deal with? Marie said to her friends. He's got this romantic idea that some rusted old bike is going to be worth something someday. Meanwhile, it's been 3 years and thousands of dollars. How much have you spent? Sarah asked. About $35,000, I said. Give or take. Marie's face went pale. You spent $35,000 on that thing? Parts aren't cheap when you want to do it right. $35,000. Her voice was rising now, drawing attention from nearby groups. Are you insane? That's a car, Ben. That's a down payment on a better house. That's an investment, I said calmly. Trust me. Trust you? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're a structural engineer who plays with old motorcycles in his spare time. You're not some expert. Maybe not. But I know quality when I see it. Jennifer tried to diffuse things. I'm sure it'll be beautiful when it's done, Ben. It already is, I said. I just finished it last week. Marie stared at me. What? The restoration. It's complete. I sent photos to an auction house in London. They specialize in vintage British motorcycles. You did what? I'm selling it. Figured you were right about it taking up space. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out if this was good news or bad. Before she could respond, someone called her name from across the yard. She turned, and her whole face changed. Victor. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, tanned, wearing clothes that screamed expensive casual, designer jeans, a linen shirt, leather loafers without socks. His hair was perfectly styled, his smile practiced. He moved through the crowd like he owned the place, stopping to shake hands, to clap shoulders, to kiss cheeks. When he reached Marie, he didn't kiss her cheek. He hugged her, long enough that people noticed, long enough that Jennifer raised her eyebrows at Amanda, long enough that I felt that cold rage settle deeper into my chest. You must be Ben, he said, extending his hand. I'm Victor, old friend of Marie's. His grip was firm, aggressive, a dominance play. I've heard the name, I said. Victor just got back from Monaco, Marie said quickly. He's been consulting for a tech startup. Consulting, I said. That must be interesting. It keeps me busy. Lots of travel. Speaking of which, Marie, did you decide about next weekend? The property I'm looking at in Napa? Property, I said. So you're in real estate? Among other things, I like to diversify. He kept his arm around Marie's waist. But the Napa place is more personal. Thinking about a weekend retreat. Marie has great taste, so I wanted her input. She does have expensive taste, I agreed. Must be nice to afford it. Marie's face flushed. Victor, this is Ben being Ben. He's always got something sarcastic to say. Sarcasm's a defense mechanism, Victor said like he was my therapist. Usually means someone's insecure. Or observant, I said. Jennifer laughed nervously. More wine, anyone? I excused myself and walked back to my corner by the pool. Steve had sent me a text an hour ago with a photo. Marie's car parked outside the Meridian Hotel. Again. 3 times in the past 2 weeks. Always when she'd claimed to be shopping or at lunch with friends. I watched them across the yard. Victor was still touching her shoulder, her back, her arm. Marie was leaning into him, laughing at something he said. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. Good. Let them be careless. Careless people make mistakes. I finished my beer and decided it was time to leave. But as I headed toward Marie to tell her I was taking an Uber home, I saw her standing with Victor by the side of the house, away from the main party. He had her pressed against the wall, not violently, but intimately. His hand was on her face. She was looking up at him like he was the only person in the world. I pulled out my phone and took a photo, then another, then a short video. Then I walked past them without saying a word and called an Uber. I moved my most important documents into the storage unit on a Tuesday afternoon. Marie was at Pilates, then lunch, then wherever the hell she went to avoid being home with me. I packed methodically, birth certificate, passport, tax returns, bank statements, the title to my truck, the Norton's original bill of sale and every receipt from the restoration, photos of the bike from every stage of the rebuild. My lawyer, Catherine Chen, had been clear about what I'd need. Document everything, she'd said during our first meeting. Proof of her affair, your separate assets, anything that shows you've been the primary earner and she's been spending recklessly. I had all of it. Steve's surveillance photos, bank statements showing Marie's shopping habits, credit card bills for restaurants I'd never been to, hotels I'd never slept in. The evidence was overwhelming. This is a strong case, Catherine had said. But be prepared. Affairs make people vindictive. She's going to fight. Let her, I'd said. I'd also opened a lease on a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, 1 bedroom, barely furnished, but it was mine. I'd started moving clothes there, a few books, my laptop, getting ready. The email from Barrett & Sons arrived on Thursday morning. I was at work, reviewing blueprints for a new office complex, when my phone buzzed. Dear Mr. Thompson, thank you for submitting photos of your 1973 Norton Commando 850. Our chief appraiser has reviewed the documentation, and we are very impressed with the quality and authenticity of your restoration. Based on current market conditions and recent auction results for comparable machines, we estimate your motorcycle would fetch between $120,000 and $150,000 at auction, approximately $155,000 to $195,000 USD. However, we have a private collector who specializes in Norton Commandos and has expressed immediate interest. He is prepared to offer $140,000, $180,000 USD for a direct purchase, pending final inspection. Please let us know if you would like to proceed. I read it 3 times. Then I called Catherine. The bike's worth $180,000, I said. They want to buy it. Is it titled in your name only? Yes, I bought it before we were married, and all the restoration was funded from my separate account. Then it's yours. They can't touch it in the divorce. What if I sell it now? Keep the money in your separate account and it stays yours. Just don't commingle it with joint assets. I replied to the email immediately. Yes, I wanted to proceed. They'd send someone to inspect the bike next week, and if everything checked out, they'd wire the money. $180,000, more than enough to start over. That evening, Marie came home late, around 9. I was in the kitchen, eating leftover Chinese food straight from the container. We need to talk, she said. About what? I want a divorce. I kept eating. Okay. She blinked. Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Marie? You've been cheating on me for months. You want to be with Victor. Fine. Let's make it official. I haven't been... Don't. I set down the container. I've got photos, hotel receipts, text messages. I've got everything. So let's skip the lies and just do this. Her face hardened. Fine. But I'm not leaving this house. You can get out. Already working on it. And I want half of everything. The house, your retirement, your salary. Talk to your lawyer, I said. Mine will be in touch. My lawyer? She laughed. You can't afford a good lawyer, Ben. Not on what you make. We'll see. You're pathetic. You know that? This is why I went looking elsewhere. You're boring, you're broke, and you're bitter. Victor is successful. He's going places. He can actually provide the life I deserve. The life you deserve? I repeated. Right. How's he feel about your credit card debt? The $40,000 you've racked up on shopping and lunches and spa days? That's none of your business. It is when it's coming out of the joint account. But don't worry. After next week, you and Victor can figure out your own finances. What happens next week? Nothing you need to worry about. I picked up my container and headed upstairs. I'll be out by the weekend. You can have the house, for now. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the parking lot fight that was coming, because Victor wouldn't let this go quietly. Men like him never did. I vandalized Victor's car on a Saturday night. Not random destruction, calculated. I'd been watching his patterns for 2 weeks, thanks to Steve. Victor lived in a downtown condo with underground parking, but he kept his precious Mercedes, a bright red SL convertible, because of course, in a visitor spot by the building entrance. Show-off parking. Security cameras covered the main entrance, but there was a blind spot near the loading dock. I wore dark clothes, a baseball cap pulled low, and I moved fast. First, the tires, all 4, slashed with a utility knife. The hiss of escaping air was satisfying. Then, the paint. I keyed both sides, long, deep scratches that would cost thousands to fix. Took out the headlights with a hammer wrapped in a towel to muffle the sound. Smashed the tail lights, cracked the windshield. It took less than 3 minutes. By the time I was back in my truck, parked 2 blocks away, my heart was hammering but my hands were steady. The satisfaction lasted until Monday morning, when Victor showed up at my office. You son of a... My assistant looked up, startled, but I waved her off. It's fine, Paula. Close the door. She did, reluctantly, and Victor moved around my desk like he wanted to hit me. His face was red, his expensive suit rumpled like he'd slept in it. You think I don't know it was you? He said. $23,000 in damage, Ben. My insurance won't cover vandalism without a police report. Then file one, I said calmly. I'm sure they'll investigate thoroughly. You're a psycho. You know that? A pathetic, jealous psycho. That's what Marie says. I struggle to change a light bulb, though, so I'm not sure how I'd manage something like car vandalism. He leaned across my desk. Stay away from her. Stay away from me. Or I swear... You'll what? I stood up, matching his height. Beat me up? Call the cops? Tell them what exactly? That your girlfriend's husband is giving you trouble? She's not my girlfriend. She's going to be my wife. Is she? I smiled. You proposed already? That's fast. Then again, you always did move fast, didn't you? She mentioned how many times you've been married? 3, right? Or is it 4? His jaw clenched. You don't know anything about me. I know you've got 2 bankruptcies and a lawsuit from your last business partner. I know your consulting is code for unemployed. I know that condo you're so proud of. You're 3 months behind on the HOA fees. I'd paid Steve extra for the deep background check. So yeah, Victor, I know exactly who you are. He grabbed my shirt collar, and I let him. Let him feel like he had power for just a second. Then I gripped his wrist, hard, using the strength that came from years of working with tools, building things with my hands, and twisted. He gasped and let go. Get out of my office, I said quietly, and tell Marie that if she wants to talk divorce terms, she can call my lawyer. He left, cradling his wrist, and I sat back down. My hands were shaking again, but this time it felt good, like I'd finally stopped being a victim and started being something else, something colder. Marie's friends turned on her over the course of 2 weeks. It wasn't hard. I just had to plant the right seeds. I started with Jennifer. She'd always been the gossip queen, the one who collected secrets like trading cards. I ran into her at the grocery store, not accidentally, and mentioned how worried I was about Marie. She's been acting strange, I said. Secretive. I found some credit card statements. I think she might have a gambling problem. Gambling? Jennifer's eyes went wide. She's been taking trips to that new casino resort, sometimes for days. I didn't want to say anything, but I shrugged helplessly. I'm worried about her. It wasn't true, of course, but Jennifer didn't know that. And she also didn't know that I knew about the time Marie had stolen Jennifer's necklace at a party 5 years ago and blamed it on the catering staff. Marie had been drunk and confessed it to me later, laughing. I also told Amanda about the time Marie had slept with Amanda's ex-boyfriend during their brief breakup, something Marie had told me in confidence years ago, thinking it didn't matter anymore. And I told Sarah about the abortion Marie had gotten in college, the one she'd kept secret from everyone. Not because I wanted to shame her, but because Sarah was radically pro-life and would be horrified that Marie had been lying to her for years. The gossip spread like wildfire. By the end of the first week, Marie was getting fewer calls. By the end of the second, she was uninvited from Jennifer's book club. "What did you do?" she screamed at me one night. I'd moved most of my stuff to the apartment, but still stopped by the house for mail and clothes. Everyone's avoiding me. Jennifer won't return my calls. Amanda blocked me on social media. "Maybe they finally realized who you really are," I said. "You told them things, private things. How could you?" "How could I?" I laughed. "That's rich, coming from you. You've been humiliating me for months, parading around with Victor, letting your friends mock me, treating me like I'm garbage. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? You're psychotic." Her voice broke. "You've destroyed my life." "No. You destroyed our marriage. I'm just making sure everyone knows it." She threw a wine glass at me. It missed and shattered against the wall. "I'm taking everything from you in the divorce," she said. "The house, your retirement, your truck, everything. I'll make sure you end up with nothing. Good luck with that." I left before she could throw anything else. Victor found me 3 days later in my office parking lot. It was late, past 7. Most people had gone home. I was loading my laptop bag into my truck when I heard footsteps behind me. "Hey, Ben." I turned. Victor stood 20 feet away, next to a rental car. His Mercedes was apparently still in the shop. "Victor, we need to settle this, man to man. I'm not interested in—" He came at me fast, faster than I expected. His fist caught me in the ribs, and I stumbled back against my truck, the wind knocked out of me. "You ruined my car. You're turning Marie against me. You think I'm just going to let that slide?" I blocked his next punch and threw one of my own. It caught him in the jaw, and he reeled back, surprised. He'd thought I'd be easy, weak. He was wrong. We circled each other. My ribs ached, but my mind was clear. I'd taken boxing lessons in college, and muscle memory kicked in. Keep your guard up. Watch his feet. Wait for an opening. He lunged again, sloppy. I sidestepped and landed a hard jab to his solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping. "This is what you wanted, right?" I said. "To prove you're the alpha? To take my wife and my dignity?" He swung wild. I ducked under it and drove my fist into his kidney. He went down to one knee. "You're a fake," I said. "Fake business, fake confidence, fake everything. Marie deserves you. You're both shallow and selfish and empty." He tried to tackle me. We went down hard onto the asphalt, and he got a few good hits in. One split my lip, another caught me in the eye. But I was stronger. 3 years of working with tools, of lifting engines, of building things with my hands. I flipped him over and pinned him. "You're done," I said. "With me, with Marie, with all of it. Next time you come near me, I call the cops. Next time you touch her, I make sure her lawyer knows you're violent." I got up, leaving him gasping on the ground. My face was bleeding. My ribs were screaming. But I felt something close to satisfaction. I drove to the apartment, cleaned myself up, and texted Catherine. Victor assaulted me in my office parking lot. Do I need to file a police report? Her response was immediate. Yes. Do it tonight. Document your injuries. Security cameras? I'll check. The building did have cameras. By morning, I had the footage on a thumb drive and a police report filed. Victor was going to get a visit from the cops. Probably a restraining order. Good. The message from Barrett and Sons arrived on a Wednesday afternoon. I was at my apartment, eating takeout Thai food and reviewing the settlement offer Marie's lawyer had sent. She wanted the house, half my 401k alimony for 5 years, and the truck. In return, I'd get to keep my debt and my clothes. I'd already told Catherine to reject it. My phone buzzed. Barrett and Sons. Inspector has verified your Norton Commando 850. Restoration quality is exceptional. Buyer is prepared to transfer $140,000 GBP immediately upon receipt of the motorcycle. Please confirm shipping arrangements. I stared at the message for a long moment. $180,000. The confirmation of everything I'd worked for. The proof that my waste of money had been anything but. I replied, confirmed. I'll arrange shipping by end of week. Then I took a screenshot and saved it to my phone. Catherine had scheduled a meeting with Marie's lawyer for Friday to discuss the settlement. I'd be bringing new information. That night, Steve called. You asked me to keep tabs on Marie and Victor, he said. Got something you should see. What? They're looking at apartments together, downtown, expensive high-rise, 2-bedroom, 2,000 square feet. Lease starts next month. She doesn't have the money for that. She thinks she will, after the divorce. I laughed, actually laughed. She's in for a surprise. You sound different, Steve said, colder. That what happens when someone tries to take everything from you. You get cold, you get calculating, you stop being the nice guy. Just be careful, Ben. Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that, but I'm not doing anything illegal, if that's what you're worried about. That's exactly what I'm worried about. I hung up and looked around my sparse apartment. 1 chair, a card table, a mattress on the floor. This was my life now. Simple, clean, mine. And it was about to get a lot better. Victor came after me again on Thursday night. I was leaving the gym, a new habit, burning off the rage and stress, when I saw the rental car idling in the parking lot. He was behind the wheel, watching the entrance. I got in my truck and pulled out onto the main road. He followed. At first, I thought maybe I was paranoid, but when I took 3 random turns and he stayed with me, I knew. He was tailing me, probably heading back to the apartment to start something. Not tonight. I accelerated, taking the on-ramp to the highway. He followed, closing the distance. The city was a blur of lights around us. Rain had started to fall, slicking the pavement. He pulled alongside me, rolled down his window, shouting something I couldn't hear. Then he swerved into my lane, trying to force me off the road. I hit the brakes hard, letting him overshoot. Then I floored it, cutting across 2 lanes to the next exit. He followed, tires squealing. We were downtown now, narrow streets, heavy traffic. He was right behind me, ramming my bumper. The impact jolted me forward, and I gripped the wheel tighter. This wasn't just anger, this was insanity. I jerked the steering wheel to the right, taking a sharp, decisive turn into a narrow alleyway. The sound of the engine behind me grew louder, and I knew he was right on my tail, not willing to let me slip away. The alley twisted ahead, growing tighter with each passing moment. I could see the end now, a dead end, just a loading dock with nowhere to go. Without giving it a second thought, I slammed my foot down on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest as I came to an abrupt stop. I glanced in the rearview mirror, watching his headlights grow brighter, too close for comfort. But he wasn't fast enough. His rental car barreled straight into the concrete barrier, the sickening crunch of metal twisting and glass shattering filling the air, a brutal reminder of just how quickly things could go wrong. I took a deep breath, my pulse quickening, before I pushed open the door and stepped out into the night. My heart hammered in my chest as I walked back toward his car. He was slumped over the steering wheel, his face bruised and swollen from the impact, the airbag still deployed in front of him. He was conscious, but his eyes were unfocused, dazed. I paused for a moment, watching him struggle to collect himself, before speaking through his shattered window, my voice steady but cold. "Stay away from me," I said, making sure my words hit him with the weight they deserved. "I'm done warning you." He opened his mouth as if to say something, but I was already turning away. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, calmly reporting the crash. I hung up without hesitation and walked away from the scene, leaving him to deal with the mess he'd made. Let him try to explain his reckless chase, the high-speed pursuit through downtown. With his history, his assault on me, the restraining order that would be filed tomorrow, he was finished. I got back into my car, my hands tight on the wheel as I drove back to the apartment. My fingers were finally shaking, the adrenaline from the chase still pulsing through my veins. I pulled into the parking garage, made my way upstairs, and poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey. I didn't bother with a glass. I needed something stronger than that. Marie's birthday was coming up, a Tuesday. She'd been planning for weeks, making all the arrangements. A dinner at Rousseau's, the most expensive French restaurant in the city, the kind of place where a reservation required a month of waiting, and the entrees were priced at $70 and up. It was the kind of dinner she expected, the kind of dinner that she thought she deserved. But what she didn't know was that everything was about to change, and this time, she wouldn't be the one calling the shots. She'd invited her remaining friends, the ones who hadn't completely frozen her out yet, and Victor, of course. I knew because Steve had shown me the group text. I'd arranged to be there too, not with her party, at a table across the room. I wore my best suit, the charcoal one I saved for important meetings, arrived exactly at 8 when I knew her party would be in full swing. The hostess tried to seat me in the back, but I slipped her $50 and requested a table with a clear view of Marie's group. They hadn't noticed me yet. Marie sat at the head of the table, wearing a dress that probably cost $1,000. Victor was beside her, his face still bruised from the crash. Her friends, Jennifer, Amanda, and 2 others I didn't recognize, were laughing at something, champagne glasses raised. I ordered the most expensive scotch on the menu and waited. Midway through their appetizers, Marie finally spotted me. Her face went white, then red. She said something to Victor, and he turned, scowling. I raised my glass to them, a small salute. Marie stood up, excusing herself, and marched across the restaurant. Victor followed. Her friends watched, confused. "What are you doing here?" she hissed when she reached my table. "Having dinner. It's a public restaurant. It's my birthday dinner." "I know. Happy birthday." Victor put his hand on her shoulder. "Let's get security." "For what?" I said. "I haven't done anything. I'm just eating." "You're harassing us." "I'm having a meal. You're the ones who came over here." Marie's jaw clenched. "You're pathetic. You know that? Coming here, trying to ruin my night. You can't stand that I'm happy." "Happy?" I laughed. "Marie, you're not happy. You're desperate. You're clinging to a man who's bankrupt and violent and using you for whatever money you think you're going to get in the divorce. But here's the thing." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot from Barrett and Sons. "You're not getting as much as you think." She stared at the message. "What is this? That bike you said was junk? That waste of money? I just sold it for $180,000. Her face went slack. Victor leaned over to read the screen, his expression shifting from confusion to anger. "That's impossible," Marie said. "That rusted piece of garbage was a fully restored 1973 Norton Commando 850. Original parts, documented provenance, museum quality, and it's mine. Bought before we were married, restored with my money from my separate account. Your lawyer gets exactly 0% of it." "You can't—" "I already did. The money's being wired this week, into my account, my separate account." I took a sip of my scotch. "So, When you're doing the math on that fancy apartment you and Victor are planning to lease, you might want to adjust your budget. Victor's face flushed. How did you know about the apartment? Please, you two aren't as subtle as you think. I looked at Marie. The house is mortgaged to the hilt because of your spending. Your credit cards are maxed out. You have no job, no income, no savings. Whatever you think you're getting in the divorce, it's not going to be enough to support the lifestyle you want. And Victor here can't help you. He's broke too. You're lying, Marie said, but her voice wavered. Am I? Ask him about his bankruptcies. Ask him about the lawsuit from his business partner. Ask him about the $15,000 he owes in back taxes. I turned to Victor. Or did you not mention that part? Marie looked at Victor. Is that true? It's complicated. It's simple, I said. He saw you as a meal ticket. A woman going through a divorce, about to get a big settlement. Except the settlement isn't coming, is it? Because I documented everything, every hotel receipt, every text message, every lie. And my lawyer is very, very good. The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners were watching now, pretending not to, but definitely listening. Marie's friends at her table were leaning in, trying to hear. You've destroyed everything, Marie whispered. My reputation, my friends, my marriage. No, you did that. I just made sure everyone saw who you really are. I set down my glass. Now go back to your table. Enjoy your birthday dinner. I'm sure Victor will pay for it. He's got credit cards, right? Or are those maxed out too? Victor grabbed my arm. You smug piece of... Touch me again, and I call the cops. You're already looking at assault charges. Want to add another? He let go, and Marie pulled him back. They returned to their table, and the whispered conversations exploded. Her friends were asking questions, looking between her and me. The whole carefully constructed evening was falling apart. I finished my scotch, paid for my drink, and stood up. As I walked past their table, I stopped. Marie, I said quietly, so only she could hear, my junk in the garage is worth more than your entire future. Remember that. Then I walked out into the rain, leaving her with the bill and her humiliation. The divorce was finalized on a gray morning in November. Catherine had negotiated a settlement that left Marie with almost nothing. She got the house, with its underwater mortgage and property taxes she couldn't afford. She got her car, with its lease payments she couldn't make. She got half of a nearly empty joint account. I got my freedom, my truck, my retirement intact, and $180,000 in my private account. Victor had left her 3 weeks after the restaurant incident. Steve's final report showed him moving back to Arizona, tail between his legs, leaving Marie to deal with the wreckage alone. The house went on the market a month later. Marie couldn't make the payments. I heard through Jennifer, who'd cautiously reached out to apologize for her part in things, that Marie had moved in with her mother in Ohio. No job, no prospects, no friends. I should have felt guilty. Should have felt something other than cold satisfaction. But I didn't. I stood in my new apartment, bigger than the first one, furnished now, with a view of the river, and thought about the 3 years I'd spent in that garage. Every evening, every weekend, working with my hands, building something from nothing. While Marie had been mocking me, dismissing me, betraying me, I'd been creating value. The Norton was in London now, part of a private collection. I'd gotten a photo from the buyer, the bike displayed in a climate-controlled garage alongside other classics, gleaming under soft lights. Beautiful and appreciated, valued. That's all anyone wants, really. To be valued. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Marie called me. She's asking if you'd consider giving her some money. She says she's desperate. I deleted the message without responding. Another text, this one from Catherine. Final papers are filed. You're officially divorced. Congratulations on your freedom. I poured myself a drink, good scotch, the kind I could afford now, and looked out at the city. The rain had stopped, and the lights reflected off the wet pavement like scattered jewels. Somewhere out there, Marie was learning that actions have consequences, that you can't humiliate someone, betray them, try to take everything they've worked for, and expect to walk away unscathed. I'd been the underdog, the guy everyone underestimated, the boring engineer with his stupid garage project, the husband who couldn't even change a light bulb, but I'd won. It wasn't through brute force, though admittedly that had certainly played a role at times. It wasn't just through revenge, though that had been deeply satisfying in its own right. No, I had triumphed in a much quieter, more calculated way. I had won by exercising patience, by using my intellect, by understanding that the most effective way to bring someone down isn't by fighting them directly, but by allowing them to unravel on their own. All the while, I focused on building something far stronger, something they could never touch. Marie had wanted me to disappear on her birthday, and in a way I had. The old Ben, the one who took her abuse, who tried to make her happy, who believed love was enough, he was gone. What remained was colder, harder, but free. I raised my glass to my reflection in the window. "Happy birthday, Marie," I said to the empty room. Then I drank and I smiled.